What's up, board game people? Another long week, another hefty news video full of good news. The industry seems to be humming right along, and the news is jetting out of UKGE as convention season has officially begun. I haven't even announced it to them yet, but we have officially reached our first goal on Patreon, and I have a set of wireless mics ready to go for Gen Con and so many other future projects. Thank you to all the wonderful people supporting the channel on Patreon. You all are really making a huge difference. Live on crowdfunding now, we have Apex Legends wrapping up their campaign on Kickstarter in just hours. If you're wanting a piece of the action, now's the time to pull the trigger. Also on Kickstarter, we have The Last Spell with around a week left that has exceeded expectations and looks to be putting together a solid game at a decent price point. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice, the Apocalypse expansion and reprint, is going steady and close to its last week. This is an excellent chance to buy into the game if it's caught your eye. And last but certainly not least, we have Studium, No Exit, which I recently had the pleasure of playing. They're hitting the mid-campaign lull, but they're doing quite well for themselves, and they have a solid game with an interesting story and theme that should catch the eye of any horror crawler fans out there. Coming soon to crowdfunding, we have Witchcraft launching on Gamefound in just a few hours. This is expected to be a lighter week for campaigns launching, but this is just the calm before the storm. And now let's get to the news. Production of Lawyer Up Season 2 is wrapping up. They have the production copies in hand and they've shown them off in a video linked in the update. Addresses will be locking soon and freight should begin in July, putting delivery to backers between August and October. Stormsunder strikes again, and no, they didn't invent new terrain types like rocks or a lake tile. Perhaps they'll discover them in a future update. They're still focused on testing and expected to fully wrap up by September of 2023. This update goes over how trophies that your heroes collect can be used to upgrade their starting equipment. The upgrades will be subtle, but they should help to fill in some holes in the gear progression. 4 new status effects have been added to the game. Regenerate. At the beginning of your target's next activation, discard 1 token to heal itself for 2. Rejuvenate. At the beginning of the target's next activation, discard 1 token and gain 1 power and draw 1 card. Aegeus. The next time a target is damaged, the caster may assign any amount of damage to itself. Reflect. The next attack that the target receives is applied to the attacker. A new update has arrived for Dawn of Madness with an updated timeline and manufacturing update. Printed components for the core game should be printed and ready to get those core games shipped in October. They've confirmed all printing samples with the manufacturer. The core box storage solution has been finalized. The miniatures box will soon move to a new warehouse to ready for shipping. Manufacturing for the other components, such as metal tokens and the game's mat, has begun. Linus Gershwin's character design and Wanderer stage story are complete. Finale story writing, art, and layout are all in progress. Claude only lacks a bit of art and layout work to be totally finished. Catherine also needs just a few pieces of art and some layout work to be complete. Production samples for Mythwind have arrived. The character boards look amazing and totally functional. I'm excited to play around with these. The miniatures with the wash being shown look great. Some surprise additions can be found way at the bottom of the box. They've added some mystery envelopes that add a bonus for how you're playing throughout your game. An updated timeline will be coming next month. Another exciting update from Maladum is showing off progress on the game, and most importantly, some of the traps we didn't get to see before the campaign's end. They have revised the campaign log to be easier to use and reference. A new component has been created to insert into the Denizen board when fighting a Maladar, and that should help to better display their stat changes. A new character board has been created for the campaign's mini-boss. We've also added a new veteran event card that allows this mini-boss to show up in the games beyond the campaign. Some stealth mechanics are being introduced to the game to bring a little of the feel of Core Space's drone patrol missions to Maladum. This update gives a look at the swinging blade trap and 2 barricades that they've completed. Maladum will be on display and available for play during the UK Games Expo. If you get a chance to see it there, be sure and let me know your thoughts. The development for the second wave of ISS Vanguard is complete. Proofing of the various game text and mold preparation for the miniatures is currently underway. They remain on track with the latest timeline and hope to begin delivering to backers in October. Work in progress rulebooks are linked in the update for anyone wanting a peek, and they've given us a huge allotment of fantastic art from Wave 2. First Wave language editions have been delayed just a bit as they double check all of the translations and incorporate feedback received. This pushes delivery of Wave 1 language versions to September. It's officially official. Dungeon Crusade is entering mass production in the next 2 weeks. The update starts off with another outstanding comic book cover, number 4, The Beast from the East. Roger had to get a bit firmer with the production partner, but now with some of the higher-ups involved, major progress is being shown. With the game headed to mass production, they'll have to close the pledge manager soon. As of now, it's still open for any late backers that are looking for one of the most customizable and replayable dungeon crawlers I've seen. The games are set to ship out later this summer. A production copy has made its way to Roger, and he was able to get a great series of videos together showing unboxings and just how great the components are looking. The production copy has had a few minor issues, but they've already been worked out. Once the final few wrinkles are ironed out, it's time to hit that big red button. Finally, he goes on to outline a bit of how development of the random dungeon generator mode is coming along, and it looks to deliver faster, more streamlined play sessions with a twist to keep the game exciting for years to come. A new update for Stonesaga is in with a developer deep dive, the first topic of which is scavenging, which is unlocked in the second epoch or later. Scavenging helps promote exploration of the runes that you'll see popping up across the map. Scavenging can net you some interesting items such as already processed materials all the way up to completed items. Scavenging seems to be a bit dependent on your crafting from previous epochs, meaning the better items you can make, the better items you might leave behind. Structures have got a bit of a refactor and will now be introduced more gradually. You'll be presented with a smaller pool of initial buildings to create, and the progression paths will be a bit deeper than before. The path from one end of the progression tree to the other is yours to choose. Behemoths are actively being worked on and given memory supplements so they'll remember your past decisions better. Their reaction decks are being redesigned a bit to accomplish this. And of course, we also got a good dose of art to send us on our way. The pledge manager is open over on Gamefound, and late backing is available. The Kickstarter preview page is now live for Phantom Epoch's Epic relaunch. They've come back to the table with 2 different versions of the game, both at very reasonable price points, and with some new content in tow. Check out the preview page and be sure and leave them any feedback you have. You'll find a link in the video description. The Black Rose is awakening? I thought it was being reborn. Either way, the first production samples have arrived and there are tons of trays on display. Thankfully, it isn't all clear and black plastic though. We're seeing many of the plastic components from tracking cubes to base rings, even miniatures. The box itself is a stunner and will look as good on the shelf as it should on the table. The clear plastic portion of specific miniatures looks to be well done, if a bit cloudy, but it gives the effect they were aiming for. Finally, the plastic dividers have a bit of magic themselves, and they look amazing and should do their job exceptionally. Pre-production miniature samples are in for Heroes of Might and Magic 3. They're gray samples, but the final forms will come in their various faction colors. The miniatures look to be of decent quality, but it's hard to tell from the lower resolution images they've provided. If you haven't already, be sure and check out the developer blogs over on their website. The 2 latest are the Battlefield expansion and the Inferno faction blogs. A long-awaited update from Dungeon Universalis has hit our inboxes. These are always like Christmas for me. Only 3 books remain to be sent to the printer. All other files have already been sent. The 3 remaining books are finished, except for some pending corrections and proofreading, and they should be sent within the next 2 weeks. The update has a short video showing off some samples of the mats without the factory cut and finish on the edges. They've also shared 2 of the new races, the Zombies and the Devastators, and the new Mentalist class, with 3 of their spells. They also announced DunCon 2023, held at their studios where participants will be playing through a few different scenarios on 3D maps. Sounds like a blast and I can't wait to see the pictures. Castles of Burgundy is beginning to see the deck of ships and the wide oceans as shipping is finally getting underway. A delay with getting containers from the factories to the ports is costing them 2 to 3 weeks on their timeline. Some containers have already made it to port and are on ships bound for their destinations. For the US, the first container should hit port on June 18th. In the EU, they'll depart on May the 31st. Containers bound for the UK departed China on the 2nd, and those bound for Australia will arrive in port on the 25th. They're still waiting on an ETA for those going to Canada. Finally, they've posted a video of the unboxing of the deluxe components. The floodgates have opened, and the pledge manager for Dungeons & Lasers 5, World of Deuslair, is now open and packed with goodies for current backers and new backers alike. There are many of their previous add-ons being made available with rapid shipping so you can get your hands on them sooner. Check it out on Gamefound. Townsfolk Tussle is also opening up the gates, or picket fence in this case, and their pledge manager is ready to greet backers over on Gamefound. The pledge manager should remain open for 3 months or so, and late backing is available. Language confirmations have been delayed due to a customs hold on the copies of the game bound for translators. The games are now through customs, and they should have more on language availability very soon. For German translations, Frosted Games will be putting out a few samples of the translations before opening their pre-order page. More on game development in the next update. Super Sleeves, Mighty Minis, and more. That's quite the promise from the Unconscious Mind team. Let's see if they deliver. First up are the sleeves, which look to hit the mark perfectly. They have some of the most beautiful sleeves in the business, and I'd feel lucky to be a card sleeved in such art. As for the minis, they're fairly good quality for a game such as this. The dumpling of the pupils looks a bit odd on the cats, and the human miniatures seem to have sunken-in eyes, but that may just be the quality of the photos and not true on the miniatures themselves. In the Wondrous Wood department, the colors look better than ever. Screen printing on the left is a bit dull, and they're working to correct it to look more like the right side. The pledge manager will remain open while they continue to work on solo mode. Sadly, it does look as though they may push the schedule back by up to 3 months to ensure everything gets the care needed during development. Good on them for being brave and pushing for perfection. The June update for Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era is in with some clarifications and news of testing. Development is progressing smoothly, but they don't have much in the flashy department to offer this update. Playtesting is just around the corner, so if you signed up, be watching for an email later this month. The graphics team has submitted a bajillion, give or take a few, pieces of art for approval to Bethesda. Hopefully we'll get eyes on it soon. The mechanics associated with moving around the map are being tweaked to make the choices you make when traveling more consequential. Landmarks will now each offer up some type of encounter, be it the kind with pointy sticks or not. They're actively building a tutorial around a jailbreak, as they most certainly should. They hope to make even the tutorial affect the world in a permanent manner. Threat is being eliminated altogether. They'll discuss its replacement in future updates. Finally, they're working up dungeons and locations to fit within the confines of a sane play space and to fit the fixed-sized game mat. Tanares Adventures is clearing up a few things for their ultimate campaign and providing the latest shipping statuses. First, all the books being changed will be made available for free as PDFs. They'll start releasing these soon with a tutorial just around the corner, and they're going to keep them updated at the most current version, so you can play now with the peace of mind that you're not missing out on anything. The Super Storage is being designed to hold all of Tanares Adventures, Arena the Contest, the Legendary Box, and the Penumbral Pack. Each box will contain smaller themed boxes to help better organize their contents. The trays will be sturdy, and it'll be transportable within reason. For the Super Storage, there'll be 2 boxes included, and both will fit inside a calyx, presumably in their own cube. The game boards, both the City and World Phase boards, and another one with a new skin for the Epic campaign will be made available during the project. The upgrade pack will contain 5 improved books, 8 new attack cards, 2 cards with the errata, and an alternate skill tree on the back of the skill pad. The day 1 gift will be the Silver Dragon. Foreteller narration will also be available. Now on to shipping. The US and Canada are fulfillment complete. In the UK, the ship should have arrived in port on the 6th. In the EU, V-Games continues to drag their feet on delivering the games to backers. They have all the necessary games to send, they're just terribly slow, and they seem to be trying the patience of Dragori. In Australia, the remaining games are at port and going through customs. For Asia, distribution has started. For Brazil, the ship is now due in on July 7th. For the Tanares RPG, they'll release the first book, The Player's Guide, in PDF form in June. Let's check in on Vampire shipping for chapters. The vampires have begun to spread across the US, with shipping expected to wrap on June 16th. Then the games will head north to Canada. All backers from New Zealand and Australia have received their copies. In Europe, Games Quest seems to be horribly backed up, but shipping should begin any day now. Rest of the world is going through VFI, who is almost done with packing and will begin shipping soon. Second wave boats are headed to ports across the globe. All should be in port by June 27th at the latest. There was a last-minute mistake on the black metal dice. They're going to remake the dice, and anyone who wants replacements can add them to the Werewolf Apocalypse Pledge Manager for free once it opens. The errata stickers will follow the same process. Finally, they left us with a nifty organization video showing how you might get everything back in the box. Not many words from the Destinies Witchwood campaign update, but we sure see a lot of red wax samples of the minis. Be aware that Destiny's minis are tiny, so keep that in mind when looking at these. My best guess off the top of my head would be 15mm scale for the humans. A solid update is in from Euthia's Resurrected campaign. They're close to finishing up all the gameplay content for Fierce Powers and Crawling Shadows. They've already started finalizing print files for production as well, and final tweaks are being made to the rulebook before handing it over to editing and then translators. The encounter pack is on display this update. There are many who seek to resist the great evil that's rising, and one such person is the Occultist, a strange lizard folk that wields enchanted magic and when served will grant enchanted items. Or perhaps you'd rather visit the Armorer with her more straightforward skills at upgrading your gear. Or perhaps the Shaman. If you can muster the stomach to bring the Shaman corpses, it will share a small portion of its elemental power with you. Finally, we get a peek at the almost not safe for work Harpy. Don't blink, ladies, or you might see your gents falling under her spell. Arydia, the Paths We Dare Tread, is talking playtesting this week. They got hundreds of responses, and they're very grateful for all of them, but alas, only a few will be included in the testing. They currently plan to run 2 waves of playtesting. One will end around the 11th, with a second starting soon after that. The first wave should hopefully catch anything internal testing missed, and the second wave will test changes made from the first. The close date for the Pledge Manager is still set for August 1st, with delivery estimated in Q1 of 2024. The refreshing level of openness and transparency from CGS for Chronicles of Drunagor is quite encouraging. They're giving us a look at exactly what went wrong with the minis. While people might prefer the larger mini, these minis are, as they state in the comments, not the standard for COD, and will not fit into the plastic inserts for the game. Keeping the larger ones would have required redesigning many elements such as the inserts, trays that share the box with the inserts, and the box itself. They did the smart thing here, and it's great that the factory owned up to the mistake and corrected it in a timely manner. We got a quick pre-update update for next week's update from Dungeons of Doria. Yes, I confuse myself far too often. White copies of proofs are due in this week. They will do a final check of components, text, and colors before hopefully starting production around the 12th of June. If there are more changes needed, the date is subject to change. Victor did some light playtesting while on a camping trip with several other families. The children got to try out the game and apparently loved it. Ready for more Ivion? Hope you are, because there's more on the way in the future. Season 3, Crossroads, has the bookmark page up on Kickstarter, and while they're not ready to spill the beans just yet, they've shared a few pieces of art that offer some clues. The Kickstarter is scheduled to launch on September 5th, 2023, after Season 2 is delivered in August. While some dates may have shifted for Game Tray's Forsaken campaign, the important ones, mass production completion, freight, and delivery have remained the same. After a shakeup in the graphics design department, they were left scrambling to find a replacement. Well, that position is filled and work continues. The Dark Quarter gave us an update this week with a little more substance to it. They show us a bird's eye view of the Audubon Zoo and detail the St. John's Bayou, where I'm sure more than just bodies will wash up. We meet Frank, a member of Cazador Inc., who could possibly be an ally or provide leads, and Holly with a bit of New Orleans wild side to her. The rendition of Jackson Square is impeccable, and it will really transport you to the heart of the city. Another few locations shown are the Museum of Art and a swamp shack. And finally, they have Sylvie, who might have what they call a touch of fae in her. They also took some time to answer a few questions this month. They as a company are doing fine and claim to not be stretched too thin. They want everyone to know that this is just how they work as a company, each wearing many different hats. Az is also all good, and has been promoted to make way for McCall to step in. Most of the orders for Solar 175 have been shipped. If you don't receive your game by the end of the week, you should email the distribution partner. Their emails are listed in the update. They're also showing off more of Luddite, their next game set in the same universe, but changing mechanics up to incorporate some chunky dice and a roll and write that'll see you battling against the machine and its countermeasures. Werewolf the Apocalypse Retaliation is inching closer on the development side of things with 25 scenarios complete. 1/3 of these have already been approved by Paradox as well. Testing is happening in tandem with the scenario creation to get the balance and cohesion right throughout the campaign. More and more, the visual elements are coming to life as well. The miniatures are definitely looking much more detailed and unique, but I fear what they're showing in this update threatens to depart just slightly from the aesthetic of the other reworked minis they've shown. That's not to say these minis aren't good, though. The tarot-sized cards for Agemonia are officially in print. Spiral-bound books are being finalized and the files should be sent to the factory this week. They're currently in the manufacturing proofing stage for all printed materials. The trays for the game are in the final production stage, and miniatures and plastic are being worked on in the factory as well. This update shows off the lovely red plastics box, a sample of the metal coins which look fantastic, and a slight change to the game. They made the hard decision to go with the standard chip style for stamina tokens, due to the cost constraints and production lead times. Chip designs look wonderful, and they'll be double-sided with stamina on one side and wounds on the other. If it ships in 2023 as planned, I think Agemonia stands to be one of the biggest surprises of the year. And that's a wrap. That's quite enough news for one day. We'll be back with something different very soon. I'm still working on a video for Studium, Shadows of Brimstone, and a little something extra. Who am I kidding? I have a list of videos that's a mile long, and I'm working through them as efficiently as possible. Please consider subscribing and hitting that bell to help our channel grow and reach more gamers like yourself. Thank you to everyone watching, commenting, and supporting the channel on Patreon. If you have some spare change to help support the channel, we have a huge goal to work towards next, and every dollar helps. Have a great week, be safe, enjoy the convention news, and we'll talk very soon.